Stone.
Hey, Coach, I just want to start on, I guess, the second inbound play when Severe had to call that quick timeout. I know Kentucky said the defense apparently had something that worked. He called it quick timeout, and he had to reset and get the winning play drawn. And just kind of explain kind of what happened right there.
Well, we knew what we were looking for in the action, but we also knew we had timeouts. And that's the greatest thing for a coach. For me, it's taking timeouts home, right? You want to make sure that you have enough timeouts so you get in a situation like that. You can use it if you don't get what you want. So he didn't like the look. It wasn't as open. And so he called the timeout and we switched plays. And Severe did a great job. First calling that timeout. Second with the pass. Justin did a great job with the screen, and certainly PJ with the finish. And but for Severe to have that presence of mind, and I never hesitated for a second having him take the ball out of bounds, no matter who they put on the ball, because he's so smart and he's savvy, and I knew he'd make the right play.
Hey, Coach, congrats on the win tonight. I want to know, how much of a statement win is this for your program here at Georgia?
Yeah, I don't know. It's a great win against a great program, and it hadn't been done. I didn't realize till I said this on the radio. Mike Griffith told me today it had been Kentucky had won 14 straight. So like I wasn't aware of that. And so I'm glad we were able to break that. We needed the win. Our guys needed to earn something like this against a great opponent. And we needed to get on a one-game winning streak again, which is easier said than done. But to have that mentality is really, really important. So I'm very proud of the way they executed. They persevered. And we believed we were going to win. And that, I think that's what is so important, the belief factor. It's not them believing me, because I don't have any trouble believing, but it's them believing each other. And I think that's what we had tonight, and that's what we had against Ole Miss, and that's really helped us, and that's part of our growth process.
Okay, let's have Chip Towers and then Mark Weiser.
Yep. Sorry about that. Sorry about that. Writing on deadline, Coach.
Okay.
Yeah, the inbound play in particular, what was it you were looking for on the first play and you didn't get, and obviously you came out in stack the second time around? Just talk about your decision making.
The guy we wanted.
PJ getting the ball.
Yeah, we got the guy we wanted. That's who we wanted to hit. And there's a second option to it, but that's the guy that we wanted. And that's what we wanted on the first one. And Justin Carr was involved in the screening in both cases. Because we wanted to we wanted to have a little big, right? We would either, I don't mean little, but a guard bigger screen, or it would be a big screening for a guard. We didn't want to screen like, it's too easy to switch. And went with our seniors, right, to put themselves in position to execute the action. And both plays we'd never run in a game. And so I'm very proud of the way that they responded inside of the timeout and executed it. And the second one, we had only run in practice a long time ago, right? So for them to be able to do that, but I trust them on that. We came out of timeouts against Ole Miss and executed actions that we hadn't run at all, that we just drew up in timeouts. And sometimes this team can run something and not run it correct that we've run for 2 months, and sometimes we can put something in inside of a minute and they execute it 3 or 4 times. So it's youth, right? But I'm very proud of the way they locked in, they executed, and again, everybody did their job at the end.
I mean, you mentioned persevering. Obviously, the flagrant one and the technical, you guys didn't let that lose your spirit after that. And then also, you've beaten Kentucky before, but this program, like you mentioned, hasn't for a while. How satisfying is that to get this program over that hump?
Oh, I think it's great. I think it's a, when you beat Kentucky and it hasn't been done, it's a benchmark. I mean, there's no question about it. I mean, there's premier programmers there is in the country. And so I have great respect for John. I have great respect for their program. But they're a household name for a reason, because they have great tradition. And I thought our players did a really, really good job of not being consumed by any of that. They weren't playing the tradition. They weren't playing the mystique. They weren't playing the jersey. They were playing 5-on-5 against Kentucky's players, and they executed. And I think one of the biggest things is how we defended the three. And for them to go 1 of 13 inside of the game, knowing that Dante Allen was 15 of 30 coming into the game in the league, and really mince and ask you a little bit, but Allen for sure with the 3-point shooting was a real key and one of the biggest things for us. And I think for us if Keon Brooks hadn't taken a 3 or made a 3 yet this year until tonight. But I think those are the kind of things that I'm more proud of than just winning the game against Kentucky. It's the way we did it. And it is the perseverance. It's the defense. It's getting, 37 deflections, getting 10 steals, Justin getting 5 of them. It's persevering when it could have gone the other way. And those guys believing in each other. That's what we had to have.
Let's have Mike Griffith and then Ryan Curley.
Yeah, Coach, you mentioned persevering when it could have gone the other way. I think they had a 14-4 run on the heels of I guess it was they called it a flagrant foul and then a technical in a game that had been pretty heated. It didn't look like much, but those 2 calls right there looked like that could have changed the outcome of the game. And yet your guys, can you talk about how they've grown? That's something you talked about earlier this year.
Well, it happened. That was the only time I was uptight in the situation because we were self-inflicting, right? And that's what can happen. If you're going to lose, let's get beat. Okay, let's not lose the game because we made mistakes, right? That we could have corrected, but we were able to correct it. I thought that the harder part was we were up 9, they called timeout, and we came out, we didn't execute, and it allowed them back in. We didn't defend with the same fervency, and we did not come down and execute what we needed to do. That's the part, and I said this to the team after the game. That's where we got to grow up in a hurry, right? That is more concerning to me than the flagrant, which could have gone. I haven't seen it. I'll reserve judgment on that. And the technical, he just shouldn't have done it, right? You shouldn't talk, right? And you hope that it's going to be called both ways in that, but he shouldn't have done it. He's too old for that. He doesn't need to do that. And we just, you're a good player. You don't need to tell anybody. That's kind of how I feel with those type of situations. But I'm way more concerned about the fact that we let that lead go at 9 when we should have really stepped on the gas. And that's what we've got to learn how to do. And it's still a young season in so many respects of that, but we've got to figure that out because what we were doing was working. And now there's no need to stop or to let the ball stick or to settle or to not keep the ball moving because you can't beat them if you let them stay in their standard defense and let the bigs just control the paint. You can't beat them. All right. And it's hard for us to beat anybody like that. That's why we've got to keep moving the defense constantly so we can loosen up the rim.
Hey, Coach, you guys did a good job of not turning the ball over as much as you do on average. How important was that in this win tonight?
I think that's one of the major keys to the game. It really is. And to be 25-11 on points off turnovers was huge because we turned them over and some were unforced, but some we forced. Our guys were tough and strong on the ball. I think that in the 3-point defense and the fact that the rebounding was within 1 with as good a weak side rebounding team as they are, I think those were the stories of the game. The end of the game is the result and it's the drama, but those were the guts of the game, the way the turnovers worked out, the way the rebounding worked out, and the way the 3-point defense worked out were the keys.
Okay, let's have Jed May and then Davis Baker.
Hey, Coach, kind of 2 questions for you. One, against Ole Miss, you had the offense clicking most of the game. This was one where you kind of had to grind out the win a little bit. Do you feel like your team is growing up and I guess finding ways to win after these last 2 games? And then 2, I saw you after the game going to the stands to hug somebody. I assume it's your family.
Those are my daughters.
How emotional was that moment for you? What did that mean for you?
Well, my wife's not here. And so, we're having a hard week and my wife is dealing. She had an accident a week ago Tuesday, so she's not able to come to games and things like that right now. And my girls were there, and I just said it was like old times, right? I mean, it really was. I mean, they're there, and they've been a part of some great wins with us, and certainly been a part of some wins when we played Kentucky. And so I'm proud of them because they're home. One's 15, one's 25, but they're doing an unbelievable job. As is my son Riley, who's with us here in the program at 21, doing a really good job of living their life, but also helping make up for the fact that their mother is not as in commission right now. Is out of commission a bit. So that's all that was. I mean, I just saw them there and shared that moment with them. And but the fans, the students, just fantastic. I mean, the energy of the crowd, it was tremendous. And I thought our music was great. I thought the energy was great. Really, really good job of that. What was your first part of your question?
Just, do you think your team is starting to grow up and find ways to win with, I guess, the different ways they've won these last 2 games?
Absolutely, because we want to be a running team, and we haven't really worked on the break at all this week. And we still got out on the break, but we haven't even really emphasized it. It's been more about what we've got to do to eliminate losing. Transition defense, talk defensively, challenging shots, our blockouts. We spent no more time on anything than we did weak side rebounding over the last couple of days. We work on rebounding every day, but the emphasis was if you allow them lobs and weak side boards because of the way they crash, because the way John gets them to go to the glass, we're not going to win the game. So we have to, there's so many games within the game that you've got to be able to control it the best that you can. And so that's a grind, right? That's a tough deal. You've got to be willing to put your body on the line, all 5 guys, no matter what, every time that shot goes up, because if you don't, you're going to get cracked by them. And so it is what it is. The game is always giving you something, and you got to figure it out. And what we've got to stop doing is stop thinking it's giving us something that it's not, right? And that's my job. Keep looking for what the game has given us, and then we've got to come out there and execute. And that's just where we've got to improve. And sometimes it's a grinder, but you know what? It's a thing of beauty when you get some execution on things that you work hard at. And with the rebounding, with the 3-point defense, and then to finish it off the way that we did, they really earned it. And again, it was execution. Justin Carr set a great screen. PJ got open. Sabir made a great pass.
Thanks, Coach. Praying for you and your family and your wife
Appreciate
too.
that. Thank you, Jed.
Hey, Coach, you kind of just hit on it, but I saw your tweet this morning. Did you feel like the students and fans brought the energy tonight, especially down the stretch?
Absolutely. I mean, we've set records for 2 years, right? And it's just hard to imagine. And then here we are, and we've got 18% crowd, right? And we become accustomed in the last 2 years to play in front of these great crowds. Well, not everybody can get here right now. So we just got to continue to get people to make up for that. And I thought they did a fantastic job of that. But I thought that the entire game operation, game management was fantastic, and really, really proud of that.
All right, last question. We'll go with Palmer Tones.
Yeah, Coach, obviously we talked to 2 of your older guys tonight after the game. They both said that they've been in games like this against blue blood programs. How important is that experience in a game like this?
What I don't understand.
How important is the experience of guys like Andrew and PJ in a game like this?
Their experience is big, right? And they need to feel, I understand, I'm sorry. They need to feel like they belong in these games. Yeah, right. And part of the mental battle with players a lot of times right now is getting them to believe that they do belong in these games, because they'll let their confidence wane so quick. But in the case of PJ, Andrew, and Justin, they don't. And I think they're finding themselves in these situations. When you go against the SEC, in the SEC, you're going against household name teams every night. Well, Kentucky is as big as it gets in that sense. So for them to come out and execute, but I didn't think any of them had any. They were playing against the Kentucky players. They weren't going against a tradition. And I've had players that play against that tradition, and they play against that jersey, and they get distracted rather than lining up against the man they're going against. And I thought our guys did a really good job with that. And those 3 were phenomenal with it.
Let's have one more question from Tori Heck.
Hey, Coach, obviously we've seen what PJ can do, both with his talent, and then you just said like his age on the team. What does he add to the team as far as like personality and the kind of teammate he is in the locker room and off the court and that kind of stuff?
PJ's very poised. PJ's just a grown man. I mean, he really is. He's well-raised, great high school coach. Been coached very well at Virginia Tech by Buzz Williams and Mike Young, no doubt about that. I mean, no doubt about that. But he's also, I mean, he's like a young professional. I mean, he's just a young man that carries himself really well, and he's quiet, but he's happy, right? I mean, you never see moodiness, you don't see sullen, you don't see aloof. I never walk in and say, "What's bothering PJ?" Right? And every once in a while, his knees may be bothering him, or his body's hurting a little bit, and we've done a lot to help him change. He needed to make some real strides body-wise and strength-wise when he got here. And there were certain parts of his body that if they continue to get stronger, he's going to get better. And bottom line, we've asked a lot of him since he got here. And but I had no doubt we were looking to run the action for him at the end of the game. And I think a lot of it's because of the poise, and he'd be locked in and concentrated on it.
All right. Thanks so much, Coach.
Thank you, guys. See you later.
Congrats on the win.